Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Wheeler and I'm an Assistant Professor of Architecture. My research is about sustainable design, and what I want to talk to you about here is how I'm looking at one type of sustainable design, sustainable architecture, one method or approach, and that is regenerative architecture, unpicking and unravelling the discourse and looking for new perspectives. This is my research, and I look critically at the intention of sustainable architecture as well as its actuality, at our co-relationship, and at how all of this is measured, or I could say how we are certain about sustainable design, certain that it can be achieved with all the different ways value is attributed within its methods. I am using contemporary philosophy and I'm using narratives which I consider to be of equal cultural and critical value within this field to do so. Regenerative architecture is a type of sustainable architecture, one method under umbrella of many, promoted because of its radicality and defined as impacting positively on an environment across a number of different fields. This positive sum is not just about energy, it's also about placemaking, water, health and happiness, materials, social equity and beauty. The challenge, however, is being able to evaluate this positive potential, and the difficulty is the real condition in which added value is determined, the real condition, how we know it. While the tool calls for radical changes, at the same time it adopts a worldview that sees nature understood and managed by reducing it to its parts. But we've grown up. We've grown up in such ways of seeing the world, ways that reduce it to a store of resources for production and consumption. New perspectives are needed in this field, new frames, to understand what it means to grow, to become, what it means to design and build and live in sustainable environments. My question for this presentation is what is missing from sustainable design? And so I'm going to tell you in this very specific context, in this context of the most radical tool available to us as sustainable architects, what is missing are the eyes of life, a new perspective, a new approach, critical, political, and I will also call it an aesthetic. So to introduce then my research, I want to introduce a collaborative research project that I'm working on to explore this. There are three particularly difficult imperatives posed by the tool of regenerative architecture. These are positive impact in terms of equity, positive impacts in terms of health and happiness, and positive impact in terms of beauty. What I'm doing and examining with colleagues is the design of regenerative architecture for autistic young people, addressing the difficult issues that by necessity must take a more attentive and a more inclusive perspective on the needs and musts relating to equity, health and happiness and the sensory environment of this community. This research project challenges values inherent in understanding positive social impact by architects. So I'm delving into the background of sustainable architecture. I'm examining its tools that aim towards greater social equity. So what about the narratives I've mentioned? Philosophy can appear, like architecture, to belong only to the experts, but we are all engaged in the question of what it is to live, really live, and live with others in our environment. Some stories are very old, especially when we talk about renewal and regeneration, when we talk about life and living, and our want for knowing. The eyes of life are those from the first story ever written down, that of Inanna, the goddess of Sumerian culture, who brought back from the underworld a new perspective on what it really means to live, a different perspective from what the gods had given her. Her cultural gift changed the activities of the gods and brought to them a new way of understanding life, growth and renewal. What I've discussed is the challenge and implication of the problems we are facing in the design of buildings, and these are philosophical as well as practical.